Bwah ha 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 ha. My name is Amy too, and welcome back to Truck to Transformer. But this time, it's gonna be a bit different, 'cause I'll be reading ones that came around before I even started making videos of this. So, I've been archiving these, by the way, in a text file called Funny AI Stuff. AI completing sentences. Original. Moon was arguing with Sletter while working on the teleporter when he accidentally dropped a screwdriver into the control circuits and teleported Sletter to Sonic's planet. That's ironically one of the longest ones I've done. He also had the Tails egg carrier teleported to the same planet where the Tails egg carrier had been. And tried to stop the egg carrier from taking off after it had landed. In the end, Sletter's plans were foiled when the egg carrier was shot down by Sonic and Tails. Oh, so they used guns, eh? Sleeping Island. Just random. Okay. Sletter then found himself working on the teleportation machine for the Knothole City Casino. He and Tails teleported into the machine and attempted to teleport Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Rouge, and Blaze to the Crystal Cove. When they arrived, the casino's power was suddenly cut, and Tails found himself being teleported out of Knothole into a different location. Yeah. Sonic was sent back to Knothole. ... AI. Wesley was playing games on an old computer when suddenly a ball appeared by his feet. It was a teleportation ball, and it teleported him to Sletter and Moon's computer room in their base on Earth. Wesley was able to defeat the villain, who had just kidnapped Moon's brother. Wesley was surprised when he and Moon kissed, and was so pleased with how everything went that he told Moon he wanted to get married. Wesley had a wedding ring made by the Watcher. He became the new Watcher. After the return of the Master, Wesley went to the Master's lair in the Earth's core to warn the Earth's populace about the threat posed by the Master. When the Masters teleported the Watcher to their lair to stop him, the Watcher left the Master's lair in his own vessel. When the Master teleported away, the Watcher landed on Earth, having never been teleported. As a result, he found himself in Earth's core. Big Boy and Buddy were in their base developing a new device that they could use to kill Sletter and Moon and steal their kingdom. They were also attempting to get a few soldiers to be a part of their side and of the fight. After Sletter and Moon's forces killed Buddy's troops, Buddy then told Moon he could take over the kingdom as his brother. Moon agreed, and they then traveled to a planet where they planned to build their new device. During their trip, they were attacked by aliens. Buddy's troops were killed, but Sletter's forces escaped. Later, Buddy was captured by the aliens, and his soldiers were also killed. Buddy was brought before his brother Sletter, and was told to hand over the kingdom, which he did. After Sletter's death, the princess, Queen Rosanna, the princess has queen in her name, was crowned as his new queen. Okay, yeah. After King Sletter's death, Queen Rosanna went on a quest to find the princess. I thought she was the princess, who had been abducted by aliens and brought back to their home planet. Moon bought Wesley his dream car for his birthday. Sletter baked the cake. Big Boy and Buddy were sitting at the table talking about their spaceship. It didn't really work because Big Boy didn't want to come on the trip. But Buddy said if they would like to go, Buddy would. Wesley got a job on the ship, and they went on the trip. When they arrived, the planet was covered in ice, but after a while, it started to melt. And they saw some water in a pool. They went in and saw what they thought to be water, but there was nothing. Then a fish came out of the water. Wesley tried to catch it, but it didn't move. He tried to eat it, but Buddy caught it and said it was alive. Then they saw a dinosaur, which they didn't believe to be real. They were trying to get away from it, but ... Moon drove to town in his 1981 Impala. He had Sletter in the seat next to him, but they were going to get groceries, and he wanted to let his passenger out first. He had a nice view of the downtown skyline, but the view of the lake from the front of the car was far better. "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you had some problems," Sletter said when he realized what the man was saying. "Oh well, I'm gonna have to call in the doctor." "Are you in a hurry?" "I'd like to get to the clinic as fast as possible." "You can't just go out and buy a pack of cigarettes. I'll tell you that much." Sutter looked at the man suspiciously and took out his phone. He looked up the doctor and called the number. When he got the doctor's voice on... Big Boy and Buddy invented a time machine, and they accidentally sent themselves back in time to the year 1939 to make things right again in the wake of World War II. They decided to leave the country, so they head to the United States. During this time, they would meet many new people, including 2 of their future children, who were adopted by an elderly couple from Chicago. However, upon arrival, the time travelers got stuck in a blizzard in Chicago and were forced to leave their ship. Buddy later said it was a real life or death situation. "We were just walking down a street of Chicago in the middle of a blizzard when we ran out of gasoline and had to abandon ship." Buddy later explained that they were stranded on the island of Rotan, an uninhabited island with only 2 buildings. That's not an inhabited island then. The 2 older men adopted the 2 orphaned boys named Bud and Buddy. Not very clever with names, I see. After spotting the 2 boys in a circus, the 2... Okay, yeah. Sletter and Moon set sail on an old ship, the Dauntless. After she sank on the coast of Greenland, the ship had been carrying supplies for the fleet in Greenland. They spent some time trying to repair the ship. During the winter, they made it back to the coast of Greenland, but were caught by a storm. They decided to sail back to Iceland to try to repair the ship. The storm was so bad that there were some men killed. The others were able to survive because of their new sail. They also had enough provisions for a while, but when they had finished their winter provisions, they were unable to continue. They decided to return home in the spring and wait for a rescue ship to arrive. The Sletter. The Dauntless was a sailboat, a type of sailboat or rowboat, with a top deck that is raised and lowered to form a boat, and an underdeck that is made as a cabin. These type of boats are usually called SK... Moon was sitting on the couch watching TV, and Sutter was in the garage working on some new gear. We were in the mood for some action-packed rock and roll, and the band was feeling its way through some of the newer songs, one of which was The Last of Us, which is a video game for the PlayStation 3, which I think might have been the first time anyone had heard of it. After a bit of banter, we had a little chat about how I wanted to sing lead guitar on the new record. And then he suggested the first song we do together was Nailed It. After a few hours of recording, we had the song done, and then it was off to the studio to mix it. There was a couple of things happening at the same time. Though I was also starting to get involved in writing and production of various other projects as well. My first production credit was on a video for a song called KOS, which is a cover of I've Been Working. I had never written or produced anything, ... Okay. It was a hot summer day. Moon was driving down a country road with Sletter on his back. And they were doing a road trip to get to the closest campground. The ride from there to camp was about a half-mile each way. They were driving down a country road that I can only assume was a gravel road, not a dirt road. There was a small sign with the name Sletter Campground on the side of the road. On the side of the road there was a big sign saying road closed in the area, with a road closed arrow. The road ended about a mile from the sign. They had gone about 100 yards before they came to a turnoff. There was a sign with Sletter Campground on it, but there was no sign with ... Amy, too, was climbing up a pine tree to collect pine cones. I heard a loud noise and my heart stopped. I looked around and found her hanging upside down. I knew she couldn't breathe. Her face was a terrible shade of blue. We did CPR and then rushed her to the hospital. It took a few hours for the team to figure out how to revive her. Revive her? You mean she died? The doctors told me the most likely way she would have been able to recover was if her chest cavity was filled with fluid. Holy cow. That is weird. She wasn't breathing through her mouth or nose, so she was breathing through her ears. I was shocked. How could this have happened? How did she pass out? I had no idea that she had this condition. But I knew someone who did. She had a similar condition called anoxic brain injury, which she calls the big pink bump. Brain injuries that cause oxygen deprivation can occur from a variety of sources, but the most common are car accidents, violent sports, falls, and blunt trauma. But brain injuries... ... Oh, this one's great. Wesley teleported to Sletterland and was greeted by Sletter and Moon. They were holding guns and were wearing military uniforms. They told Wesley to stand down because they weren't going to do anything to his brother. Wesley tried to stop them but was shot in the leg. Moon and Sletter were then taken to the detention cell at the Sletter's prison camp. The following morning, Moon and Sletter were both found dead. The police suspected the deaths were not accidental. While the police did not give a statement as to who was responsible, Wesley and Moon's deaths were deemed to be suspicious, and their deaths were attributed to Sletter's and Moon's mental breakdown. What the hell? Moon, Wesley, and the Sletter were buried next to each other. A memorial service was held. Wesley was buried at the cemetery beside his brother. Who was his brother? This one's also good. Big Boy and Buddy were digging a spot for their new satellite dish when they found a rusty pistol and a military helmet in the soil. They were all surprised, but as they were digging, they found some ammunition. They all put this ammo in their pockets, and then they all went out and shot some wild animals with the ammo they found in the ground. They found some dead animals in the woods, but they didn't take them all home. They were too afraid of them. One day, Buddy and Buddy were sitting on the back seat of Bud's car. It was late at night, and they were all bored. Buddy had had enough. He had said that if he wanted to see the sights, he had to get back in the truck. Buddy was really excited about the prospect of seeing some of the sights that he had missed while at the camp. Buddy had a plan. He was going to bring it to him. The sights? He was going to... Moon was playing games on his computer when the power suddenly went out. Slutter rushed over to Moon with a flashlight, making sure he was all right before calling 911. He was standing in his driveway. He told me he was playing the computer all night, Slutter said. And so he's got a flashlight, and he's like, I can see the sky here. So I go to him, and I'm like, can you tell me what's going on? And he says, well, I think the power went out. Oh, man. And I'm like, really? And I'm like, did you think there was nobody at the house? And he's like, yeah. So I went up there, and there's my house. My house, and the power was out. Moon's wife, Michelle, saw her husband come out of his house with the flashlight in hand. I thought Slutter had the flashlight. Oh, this one is also good. They're all good. Slutter and Moon were at the beach. Slutter was laying on the sand and Moon was swimming around in the water. While Slutter was laying on the sand, he saw a large shark approaching him. But he's on the shore. I mean, he's not in the water. Okay. Slutter pulled out his sword and said, hurry and get away from that shark. Slutter said, it's a killer shark. If I had not been a good swimmer, I would have drowned. Moon then jumped in and took out his camera. It's a shark, Slutter said. He has a tail, Moon said. Moon said, I can't run. He's got a great bite. You better run. Moon said, he's a huge shark. It has teeth like a jackal. Like a jackal. I have to get away from it. Slutter said, don't give. ... Amy too was cooking dinner while Moon was working on the car. They were both going into labor in a few minutes. So Moon told herself she's just having her period. Why should I care about it? I don't want my husband to have his appendix pulled. I don't want my baby to get a cavity. What does that have to do with anything? Then as she turned to leave, she heard a faint baby voice in her ear. Mama, it said, we need your help. Moon's husband, John, had been in the Navy for 16 years and was deployed to Iraq. Moon has one son, Andrew, who is 3 years old. As a single mother, you mean John died? She had been to several doctors and even a fertility specialist who had told her that Moon's condition wasn't uncommon. What condition? But when Moon got the call from the doctor that Moon was going into labor, she was stunned. I remember her saying it was my lucky day, Moon said. And I thought... Big Boy and Buddy were at Radio Shack buying parts for a time machine to get back to the future. Buddy wanted a black and white machine. Buddy wanted a green one. So they went to Radio Shack. Buddy bought a brown and black machine and said, no, it's a gray one. And you can't have it because you're going to be in the future with this machine. Buddy said, well, I don't want a gray machine. I want a green one. So they gave him the green machine. That story is kind of a bit like one of those Disney fairy tales. I'm glad we're on topic. No, we're not. And no, it's not like a Disney tale. So what about you? Have you ever used the time machine to get back in time? What are some things you would like to use it for? In my home, there's an old brown and green machine that the family has. It's called the Cougar, or Chikar. I think it... Big Boy and Buddy completed their spaceship, the B-824. They were ready to launch it into space with the help of a large satellite. Why is a satellite launching a spaceship? After the launch, they made their way to a location called the spaceport, where they launched the ship into space. The two of them arrived on another planet in the galaxy where the main population lived. In that planet, they learned about a race known as the who ruled the planet. Did I do this one in a video? I don't think I did. After they took some samples of DNA, they made a new alien known as the man. They also created some other new aliens and used their DNA for their future creations. Why are you making new aliens? What? After a long time, they managed to convince the to join their race. How does that even work? They took a lot of DNA and created a new alien race known as the woman. Slater and Moon were walking through the woods late at night when a strange animal started following them. They turned around and started running. It started barking at them and lashing out with its claws. As Moon was running faster, she noticed that its eyes were glowing. Then the creature turned to her and attacked her. The Slater was knocked out, and the Moon was left for dead on the snow-covered ground. The creature then made its way to the next town where the townspeople called out to it, asking it to be left alone. After the townspeople left, the creature started to grow in size, which frightened the children in the town. I thought the townspeople left. When the Slater was found by the people, they were told that it had left to return to the Arctic with its family. The creature was taken back to the Arctic, and the Slater was buried in the ice. What? It was winter, and Wesley was shoveling snow for his parents while they were at church. He found a way to pass the time with a small toy car in his garage. He would play with it in the late afternoon, and once in a while, when he would get bored, he would take the little car for a ride. As Wesley got older, his toys got smaller. The car would be hidden away in the garage or tucked away in a hidden location. Wesley did not really know how to work the car. And when he did, he found himself driving it all over the house. It was a shame that the car was so small. Wesley was so happy when he could put the little car in the trunk and just leave it behind. So he didn't actually like it. But one day he got distracted and the car disappeared. It would be 2 months before Wesley's father, Jim, would tell him about the car. It was in the garage of his old house, still under his mom's name. Oh, this one's pretty good. Slater and Moon teleported to Earth and ended up in the sewers. As they made their way towards the bridge, Moon and Slater were separated from each other. When Moon tried to find him, she was surprised to find he was nowhere to be found. Eventually, Slater was able to find him, and both the three, there were only two of them. And both the three teleported back to the bridge. Moon's teleporter suddenly shut off. When Moon checked her power, he discovered, her power, and then he, right after that, discovered that there was a piece of the bridge missing. They then teleported back to the sock factory, and the other Scooby Gang arrived, only to find out that Slater was missing. The other Scooby Gang members were unable to locate him, so they had to do what they could to find him. One of the gang's members, a man named Daphne Shanagan, had some leads she could follow that could lead them to Slater. Slater was later seen in the sewers, where they teleported from, where they first came from, whatever. I'll do one in here so that, it's an actual talk to transform. I mean, it is anyway, but okay. I didn't have this in the background for nothing. Okay. The 3 clowns decided to form a gang when suddenly the 3 clowns decided to form a gang when suddenly something incredible happened. They learned a new technique that would save them from the same fate. What fate? Kissa later showed up in the Spelunky to tell the players a secret about the 3 clowns and their destination. The path the 3 clowns were going to run and what they would decide to try next was left up to the player to decide. In the second puzzle of each stage, the game could be completed with either a certain percentage or a certain number of gold coins. This was best known for a reason. It's not good enough, so I won't save it. Okay. Amy 2 got her machete stuck in a tree. Because she has a machete. What? Amy 2 got her machete stuck in a tree and smashed the side of the house with it. All this happened within seconds of being shown on television, with very little advance warning by the human eye and ear. The own selection of clothing that the party took in the town's main square was the same clothes that we had been seen in recently in a place we've been in twice, Decker's Dive, the Carcosa, when there were 2 of them in the same corner of the buildings. At the same time, nearly all of the businesses, government agencies, and other ... What? Moon dived into the pool, dived into the void. Moon dived into the void, and and disappeared into the void. The dagger stabbed into the door like a spear. The head of the dagger flying off and falling. Yi Kang calmly said, "We will grab the chance to go on the mission. It is better for your interest to be good with your physique. Although in the future you might have even been done in by them. Be good. My best interest is to be good." Yi Tian Lu made a face and slowly closed his eyes. Then cast a meditative energy into the medallion he had ... What is this? Okay, anyway, I'm gonna end this video here. If you liked it, then go look at my other videos and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.